what got you here won't get you there. Let me just say that. Okay. What worked for you when you was a 400, a 300, a 500 is not going to be the same things that's going to work to get you to the high sixes, 700s, 800s.
What is up, team? It's your boy Sledge from the SledgeIncTeam, back with another video. But today, we doing something special. But before I get into the specifics of what we doing today, I want to bring in a special guest, Calvin from 850 Club Credit. If I can get Calvin in here.
Hey,
How
what's
you
going
doing,
on,
my
sir?
brother?
Doing pretty good. And yourself?
Good, man. You know, for the people that don't know who you are or what you do, man, give us a little brief introduction.
Yes. Well, first, I want to say thank you, of course, for having me, scheduling out some time, out of your, schedule, away from your family, away from your YouTube channel, and having me on the channel. So, thank you for doing that for sure.
For sure.
All right. Yeah, so for those who don't know me, my name is Calvin Russell. Of course, I am a certified FICO professional. I am also a licensed managing broker here in Chicago, Illinois. My wife and I own a full service real estate firm, as well as, of course, our YouTube channel. That's where many people may have seen me or know me from. Long story short, we help people improve their credit scores and qualify, for home ownership, and of course, accomplish their credit goals in general, like getting a high limit credit card, lowering your car payment, things of that sort.
All right, man. Listen, Calvin is the professional of professionals. You know what I'm talking about? Like some of these YouTubers on YouTube, they go to his channel to get the information before they put it out to you. So
I believe it.
for sure, I see him. But today, man, like I say, we gonna do something different. Today,
Okay.
I'm gonna present Calvin with 3 topics, and I'm gonna just let him drop gems on those topics in a allotted time. I know he don't have forever to be here, so as long as he want to go, that's how long we gonna go. Because I know you're a busy man, and I'm not gonna take up all of your time. But
Awesome.
first, I want to tell everybody what the 3 topics are. The first topic is going to be proven strategies to improve your credit score and achieve financial goals. Because I know a lot of people that watch our channels. We have some people that are, they up in the upper tier of knowing about this, but we also have people that's just watching to try to get where we are as far as our financial literacy. The second topic is going to be business building strategies. I mean, you have your own company, so you I think you're pretty you're pretty proficient in this, and not only that, you have proven what you can do by building your YouTube channel and things like that, and your outside businesses. And I know you go get into that as well, but building business strategies, tips, and resources, and what you can help do for us. And the last one is that's just basically going to be about home ownership. How to make that process easier for both the seller as well as the buyer.
Yeah.
And man, if you're ready to get into this, let's start off with number 1.
Okay.
Number 1 was, can you tell us some proven strategies to help us improve our credit scores and achieve financial goals?
Absolutely. To be honest with you, people really don't understand the importance of the basics. And the basics are going to simply be obviously paying your bills on time, credit card utilization, average, length of credit history, mix of accounts. Those are going to be the top 4 factors of what makes your credit score. And let's go into, obviously, we want to talk about payment history. However, one of the tips I always tell a lot of my clients, especially in our 850 Club community, put things on auto pay. You'd be surprised how easy, you'll be able to just continuously be able to build your credit score if you just simply put like basic bills on auto pay, especially if you know you have the money. Things that you pay for all the time, Whether it's your cell phone bill, that doesn't report to your credit report, but just having the habit in general of putting certain things on auto pay. That way you don't have to worry about what day to pay which company, and things of that sort. And you can line that timing up, with when you get paid as well, or just have it where it goes to a certain, bank account. That way that money's already sitting there waiting to be pulled. Number two is going to be credit card utilization. So now, a credit card utilization, we talk to people all the time, about improving their credit scores. And we tell them, they say, listen, I was about to pay $1,000 to someone, $500 to someone. I was going to file bankruptcy. It's take that money and just pay your credit cards. I'm telling you, not only will you save money down the long run, with interest and such, but people don't understand the power of utilization. And utilization, for those who don't know, is balance divided by your limit. So if your limit is 1,000, but your balance is, let's say, 900, that's 90% utilization. Not only is that killing your credit score, but at the same time, you're paying a lot of money if you're constantly carrying those types of balances. So if you're just throwing that tax refund at it, you're throwing that bonus from your job at it, you're throwing that overage at it. Instead of going on that trip, you may need to just go ahead and just throw that money on your credit cards. But a lot of people don't want to hear that. They may not want to do that. And because of that, it'll put them in a position where they're 500. Here's the worst part. There are people who are watching this right now. You are really a 700 credit score. You are really a 800. You are really a 600 credit score. The problem is you have high utilization on your credit cards. And because of that, you can't maximize that score. So now if you go to the dealership, you're going to get a high interest rate. If you go into home ownership, you're going to get, not the best terms. If you try to get a credit card or a personal loan, you may even get denied simply because you don't have that utilization that's needed. You want to be somewhere between about 7 to 10% utilization. So that's where you want to throw that money at that. Okay. This also includes authorized users as well. Sometimes people don't think about that when they are added to a credit card. They think about the payment history. They think about the limit. They think about, how long the account has been open, but they don't think about the balances. And I've seen people be authorized users on credit cards, and it's actually hurting them more than it's actually helping them. So you have that factor as well too. Now, these are some things that you can do outside of just paying the credit cards. You can also ask for a credit limit increase, not so you can use more, but just so you can create more separation between those two cards. Or you may have to do the opposite. You may have to close that card. If that balance is so high, that you can't pay, like you can't make the monthly payment, call them and see if they have a settlement program. A lot of these settlement programs will save you a tremendous amount of money, but the only drawback is you have to close the account. Okay. Now there are some companies in which they'll work with you and they don't close the account, like American Express. But like many other companies like Discover, Capital One, Chase, you work out a settlement with them, they're going to want you to close that account out and you're going to have to reapply later down the line. So utilization is very, very key because I see people, they would say, oh, you know what? Let me go to the dealership. You'll get this car. Now you're getting a higher interest rate when all you had to do is just pay $500, $1,000 towards your credit card, have a higher score. Now you have better terms. So it's like it's something I like to call credit windows. And you just so happen to be in a position where your credit window is showing that your utilization is at a certain point. And even if you didn't mean to do that, you just happen to go in that window of time. Had you paid that down first, then went to the dealership, for example, then you would have a better situation. Or worse, some people actually pay their credit cards down or whatever the case may be, something to improve their credit score overall, but they didn't wait long enough for the credit bureaus to actually report everything and update everything to reflect that higher score. Don't do anything without having the highest score possible so you can get the best terms possible. And then number three is going to be going into average age of accounts. This is where people, I would say, they think what got them there, what got you here won't get you there. Let me just say that. Okay. What worked for you when you was a 400, a 300, a 500 is not going to be the same things that's going to work to get you to the high sixes, 700s, 800s. Usually when you have low credit scores, it's usually looking for something positive, something that you can do consistently. And so usually people get, they'll open up an account, they'll open up a credit builder account, they'll open up, a credit card account, whatever the case may be. And once they get those accounts, they're thinking, oh, well, my score just went up because of me getting this account. Let me get more of those accounts. It doesn't work like that. As a matter of fact, I won't say the opposite, but it's more so the algorithm is a little bit different as you start to go up higher. Once you get past like 600, 620, 640, it's really about how consistent can you keep doing those things. Okay. Now, of course, we do know that there are some major FICO changes that's happening right now. I just talked about this. One of those changes with the FICO 10T is that mortgage companies are going to be looking at what you've been doing, recently, and not only that, but they're going to be accepting Credit Karma scores at the end of the year, probably about a third or fourth quarter of this year. Many states, including Dallas, no, I'm sorry, cities, Dallas, Texas, New York, even Chicago, they're accepting Credit Karma scores for mortgages. So there's a lot of major changes that's happening. But again, they're going to be looking at what you've done in the last 3 to 6 months, and that's going to have a lot of weight on your credit score. Those are some of the basic things that you can do is by having those accounts not only open, because we talk about credit, average age of accounts, is more so again keeping those accounts open. If you close something, you kind of almost want to replace it, but you need to have at least 5 to 8 accounts that have been open for 8 to 11 years. That's how you get to 850. That's how you get to lease into the 800s for sure. Is keeping those accounts open, and those are some of the basics that you want to most definitely take care of for sure.
Man, listen, I got,
Sorry, I know that was a lot.
I got to break it out, man. I got to take more notes, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Listen, this is the difference between writing a script and knowing it off the top of your head. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, this is the difference between writing a script and knowing it off the top of your head, man. Hey, I appreciate this knowledge, and I hope everybody out there takes some notes from this. I'm taking mine right now. So let's get on to number two. Because like I say, I want to run through them.
Yeah.
Number two, business building strategies, tips, and resources.
Yeah.
What do you have for us?
You know, one thing that you most definitely want, especially in today's time, is using AI to the best of your ability. I would say, of course, there's a lot of places. I mean, a lot of companies that's out there, Gemini, Chat GPT. Find out which ones are going to work for you. And listen, you don't know everything, and you don't know what you don't know. So that's number one, is incorporating some type of AI just to kind of brainstorm or come with ideas. You'd be surprised, like, man, people just don't understand that literally, like, we're limitless just by having access to AI, even if it's not doing, like, it can't make you a sandwich yet, right? But but at the end of the day, it can find the information within seconds. And so, like, I was researching something last night. We have a software company, and just asking it certain questions and such, and the speed at which it was giving me this information. And then it says, hey, would you like for me to make a checklist? Would you like for me to give you more information on this? Would you like me to break this down? Would you like me to give you the cons instead of just focusing on the pros? Would you like me to give you my honest opinion on if this is a good software idea, or whatever the case may be? Again, you're not just saying, hey, make this sound more professional. That's what a lot of people are doing. See, Chat GPT or anything else is only as good as the questions you ask. And so again, it's like, what are you not thinking about? Right. And so it's like, talk to it. And I've learned just by having a conversation. I forgot, I'm sorry, not forgot, but just recently, I was having a conversation with it, and we was essentially talking about, I forgot what the exact topic was. That's what I meant to say. I forgot what the topic was, but I was like, hey, let's get this money, right? And then it told me whatever, was answering my question. And at the end of it, it was like, listen, I'm ready to get this money. That's what it told me. So again, it's fun, just kind of having that conversation, using it to brainstorm. But that's one of the things for sure. I could spend all day on that. Number two is going to be automations in your business. Is what are some things that you're doing every single day that's manual? Every time someone, for example, if every time someone asks for your ebook, do you have to manually send that? You can easily, just get a software company like Zapier, Zapier, and there's some other platforms that's out there as well too, and that will connect and say, when this person, when this person downloads the ebook or buys the ebook, send this email to them with the ebook. Or and then you can also have automations, outside of that. Or you can also have it where when this person signs up for this, in 2 days, send them this text message. So just look at your flow of your business. Again, this is where ChatGPT could come in, because since you don't know what you don't know, you're not thinking about that. So you're more so saying, okay, step back and you got to drop that ego. I should have made that number one, but the dropping that ego is going to be huge, because if you don't know, if you feel like that you know so much, then why aren't you where you want to be in life, right? So you obviously don't know certain things, and it's okay. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room, because you can't learn, you can't grow. And so with that being said, you have to position yourself and say, okay, I don't know something, let me talk to Chat GPT, let me research it. You still can read books or whatever, and then say, okay, let me say, okay, what type of automations should I consider for my business, right? And so, see, back in the day, before AI, we would just have to Google it, go through certain pages, reading, research, buying books. Sometimes some books are fluffy and it doesn't have like just pinpoint, tell me like it, break this down in 5 steps. Some books can be broken down into just 5 bullet points, but you have to read the whole book. Then you slow to read the book. Now it took you a month just to get the 5 steps. That's where Chat GPT can come in, or AI in general, and say, hey, what type of automations can I have in my business? Can I have this person get a phone call automatically? Or like for example, I'm a YouTuber. So I said, what's the least amount of work that I need to do? I said, well, something that no one else can do is make the video. So I said, okay, I'm going to, and this is what I did for myself. This is recently. I said, okay, I just want to, so I wrote down everything that needs to be done. And I said, I just want to make the video and drop it into a folder. And that's it. I'm hands off. And then so I said, okay, well, what else needs to be done? The thumbnail needs to be created. The video still needs to be edited, it needs to be scheduled, it needs to be posted, it needs to be promoted, right? And I said, but I just want to just drop it into the folder. But then so I started drawing that process out. And I said, ChatGPT, is there anything else I know? This is my process. And then that's the thing. Some people are lazy, even with with research. They just want to type 1 or 2 words and then they just want to just get all the answers. It's not gonna work like that. You need to be thorough. And you need to say, hey, listen, this is my business model. This is what I'm doing. This is what I would like to do. How can I make this happen? And it says, well, when you drop the video into a folder, have an automation that goes directly to your assistant, and then she takes it from there. She goes in and then she starts that process. She sends it to the editor. She reaches out to people for interviews, and it's just saying, okay, now that I have that time, I can spend that time, that free time, that time I used to spend an hour editing my video. I now can just pay someone to do that for me, whatever that costs. And now it's like, because I'm worth more per hour than whatever I'm about to pay, to get that video edited. And when business owners start thinking of themselves as Amazon, as Walmart, as these billion-dollar, million-dollar companies, it's like, okay, you don't see Jeff Bezos boxing stuff up. He's back there thinking. He's thinking about, what can I do better for the company? What do I need? At least most entrepreneurs. Now, don't get me wrong, no one's perfect, but they're at least thinking, okay, I need to hire other thinkers. ChatGPT is a free thinker for your business. It is an employee that never asks for time off. They work at 2 p.m., they work at 2 a.m. They're never late. They're always on time. They don't have to pick up the kids. Their car don't get stuck in the snow. They're ready to work for you. Put them to work before they start charging for this stuff, right? So that's what some of the things that you want to do. And then, of course, I would say next would be, always put yourself in a position of learning. You don't, like I mentioned, you don't know everything. Get around people that's doing better than you, not just financially, but just like in business or spiritually or health wise or whatever the case may be. Because again, if you are the average of the 5 most people that you hang around. The question is, who are you hanging around? Who are you listening to? What are you binge watching? And don't mean that you can't do that. I'm a huge Snowfall fan. For those who watch Snowfall back in the day, that was my thing. And so I still get that time in. However, I still make time to implement into my business. I still make time to learn and get coaching, get mentorship. And I binge watch stuff on YouTube and say, you know what? I'm going to learn mini chat better. I'm going to learn email sequences and email open rates better. I'm going to make sure when I put a video out on YouTube, it has a certain type of performance. I had a YouTube channel for 8 years. Well, I'm sorry. Now it's technically 10 years this September. But in my 8 year span with YouTube, I had 50,000 subscribers. Not a bad number, but I felt like, man, it shouldn't take me 8 years to get to 50,000. So then I said, let me just start learning more about, YouTube, and start going to YouTube conferences and start studying other people. I turned it into a study. And a lot of times people stop studying after 12th grade or after school. Everything is a study. You are whatever you study. You say, well, I'm not studying anything. Your time is going somewhere. You are where your time is being spent. If you spend all day playing the game, you'll be great at the game. There may be some money into that. If you spend all day, again, you have to make time for whatever you want to do within your business. And so when I started doing that, the next 18 months, I went from 50,000 subscribers to now we're at 122,000 subscribers in less than 18 months. We added on about, what's that, 70,000 subscribers. It wasn't just the subscribers itself. It was also the videos were performing well. But before 2025, in 2023, I had one video that did over 100,000 views. That was one. Since that time in 2023 to now, we now have over 33 videos that are over 100,000. So I learned what my audience wanted to see. I learned how to package my video, and I learned how to just drop my stuff into a folder so I can continue to spend time thinking and reading books and just making things better. That's what it's all about. We know every day matters. We just, like, it's stuff that happens. I mean, we live in America. Most people watching this live in America, one of the best countries in the world. We got our problems. There's racism. There's stuff that costs a certain amount, but you could also be in Gaza. You could be somewhere in Africa, in Congo right now. You could be in different places where you can't even control what's happening. You can't control what's happening here, but at least there's open, free commerce. And in many cases, you are where you are based on what you know. So if everything comes down to education and execution, all you have to do is, number one, find the information. But if you don't want to find the information, then guess what? That just means you act like you know everything, right? Or you may not necessarily say, okay, I'll find the information, but then the problem is that you're not executing it. So it's like, what good is the information? What good is that cookbook, or what good is that recipe if you're not going to feed the world with this recipe? Now, don't get me wrong. This is for business owners, right? And what you want to do with that, but you have to start studying business. Sometimes we say, oh, I got a YouTube channel, I got this, or I have my business. Just because you have a business, just because you have an LLC, just because you got a funnel, just because you got a book, just because you got a YouTube channel doesn't mean that you have a legit business. You have to study business. You have to study CEOs. You have to understand what that is. Your school hasn't taught you this. Your parents haven't taught you this. So you have to research this stuff. And so this is things that I learned in like the last 18 months. My wife and I made over $2.3 million just from our YouTube channel, sending clients to our businesses. And that's only one business. That's not even including real estate. I'm not bragging or boasting. I'm just merely an example of that you don't have to know everything. I dropped out of college. My YouTube channel wasn't performing well. So it was a lot of things that happened, just like in any other business. But I put my time in, and I'm always trying to learn and grow more. So those are some tips that I can give on business. I don't want to spend too much time on the ego thing. Long story short, you don't know everything. This is why where you are right now in life, and not in a bad way. It's just saying, okay, listen, can you become more? Can you learn more? Can you automate this? Can you step back on this? What can be better? Right. And if you're constantly asking yourself that question, then of course you're going to always be going towards the direction. I know that
What
was a
can
lot.
be better, man? What can be better?
Yeah. What can be better, man?
If don't take anything else from that, man, take that. What can be better for sure, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm writing it down. Like, I'm writing it down, man.
Yeah, man.
Y'all in the comment section, man. Y'all watch this video, man. Y'all need to take some notes from here, because definitely some jewels being dropped, man.
Yeah.
We gonna run to the third and the very last topic.
Sure.
Can you tell us how to make the process of home buying simpler? Not just for the buyer, but also for the seller. Because when you make it simple for the seller, it's gonna be more simple for the buyer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I did want to add more to that business piece too. I at least want to give a couple books. I don't want people to feel like, well, man, I kind of know this is kind of general. I don't know where people are in their business journey. There are people who are just getting started. There are people who are doing, 5,000 a month. There are people who are doing $100,000 a month. I'm telling you, think of a number. People are making this kind of money. Either way, I was going to say some books that you want to get. If you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, start off there. That at least kind of break the ice on a lot of mental barriers. Next would be the E Myth. This is probably the number one book I think on business is the E Myth, the letter E and then MYTH. That's going to teach you the importance of leverage and starting to scale your business. It's so many other books, but those are like the top two that I would strongly recommend, right off top. But there's so many others. How to Win Friends and Influence People, Winning with People with, from John Maxwell, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. The list just goes on. Reading about Jim Rohn, Jimrohn, Eric Thomas, whatever motivates you. But either way, at least want to kind of mention that. Let's go into home ownership. With home ownership, it's easier than you think. It's actually easier to get a home than it is to get a credit card. I'm not saying this because I'm a real estate agent. I'm saying this because it's fact. And how is that fact? Well, it's this simple. If you have income and you have a certain DTI and you have a certain credit score, you will be approved for home ownership, period. Versus if you apply for a credit card, they're going to deny you for whatever reason that they see fit. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? Sometimes they should be denied. There's Sledge right here has over 30 plus credit cards, and he himself has been denied for reasons that probably didn't even make sense to him. Am I right or wrong? Right. And clearly he's a financially responsible person. But these banks, they say, you know what? We don't want no approval. And I'm not saying it's at random, but there are small things that we know that does not matter, and they're still denying certain type of people. Home ownership is not like that. Home ownership is if you have a 580 middle FICO mortgage score. Okay. So first off, you got to understand that 90% of lenders are going to use FICO until the third quarter of this year. That's where they're going to be looking at Credit Karma scores. Well, technically Vantage Score 4.0. Vantage Score 4.0 is the engine behind Credit Karma. It's the algorithm. Credit Karma is just a software website. And so, but everything pulls from Vantage Score 4.0. For those who don't know, Vantage Score is essentially a credit report and credit scores. That's actually was created from the three credit bureaus: Equifax, Experian, and of course TransUnion, and to be competition with FICO. Either way, by the third or fourth quarter of this year, you'll be able to buy a home with just using your Credit Karma score as an alternative to the FICO score. But as for now, the FICO score, you need to look at your mortgage scores. Now you can go to myfico.com, myfico.com, get their advanced plan for $29.99. You don't have to keep it. It's a monthly plan. It's up to you, but you at least keep it for 1 month. That month, you can look at your mortgage scores. Now, a lot of people know that they have credit scores, but they didn't know that they had category scores. So when you're looking to buy a car, they're looking at your auto loan category scores. When you're looking to buy a home, they're looking at your mortgage score category. Okay. When you're looking at a personal loan, credit cards, those are looking at your categories. Okay. But when you go to whatever there's a 95% chance every time you're looking at your credit score, you're looking at an overall score. Okay. And not many people look at an overall score outside of you, or maybe if you're applying for like an apartment. But other than that, everything else has its own category. That's why you see your overall score at 700, but your mortgage score may be 650. That's why you may you may apply for a credit card, get denied, and it's telling you your score, and you're like, man, I just looked at my score yesterday and it was X. Again, you have to look at your category scores. The only way to see all categories is through myfico.com, and you'll be able to see that. Even with Experian.com, if the paid model doesn't show you all of the other bureaus' category scores. It only shows you Experian category scores and overall scores for Equifax and TransUnion. So these small little things play a major role. When you're going into homeownership, you need to see those mortgage scores. And what you do is you drop the highest, you drop the lowest, and then whatever score is left is considered your middle score. So let me give you an example. Let's say your score is a 580, a 620, and a 700. Okay. So we're going to drop the lowest, which is 580. We're going to drop the highest, which is 700. And that middle score is going to be 620. It doesn't matter what the bureau is, it's going to be 620. But sidebar, speaking of bureaus, they're now by the end of this year, mortgage companies will only start looking at two bureaus. It may go into quarter one of next year, but they're going to reduce it down to two bureaus. That doesn't mean that everyone else is going to do this. This is only the mortgage industry. And, hint, hint, there's only two credit bureaus so far that have gotten in trouble recently, Equifax and Experian. So we don't even know if TransUnion is going to be around, but we'll keep you all posted. I talked about this recently in my major FICO changes for 2025, and people are learning so much because it's about 14 things that's going to be changing this year. Either way, you just need a minimum credit score of 580 to go into home ownership. Once you have that score, then you now have to have that income. As long as you're making over $15 an hour, you're most definitely going to get approved. However, you got to make enough to live in the area that you're trying to be in. So if you're like in California, New York, certain parts of Florida, certain parts of like DC, certain parts of Texas, it's unaffordable for people. So but in every other like city, and there are obviously some cities in around some states, if you make that amount of money, you should be able to buy a property. Most properties are going to cost about $200,000, $300,000. And if it's more than that, then you got to like move further out. And then the numbers have to make sense. So you have to be able to afford to live in the area. This is why this is one of the issues that people have. They say, well, man, I live in California. I live in New York. I can't afford to buy property here. So I just stay with people. That's fine if that's what you want to do. But if you want to have home ownership, then you may have to move. You may have to move. But as long as you have that income, you're there. Then you have your debt to income ratio. Short version is, as long as you don't have a whole lot of monthly payment credit obligations, like 3, 4 personal loans or $1,000 car note, and your income is like $40,000 a year, the numbers have to make sense for the bank. Okay, that's their biggest thing. As long as you meet those qualifications, you can go into home ownership. People don't see, they don't understand how easy it is to go into home ownership, and that's why I break it down so easily. If that's something you want to do. Now, there's also people talking about, hey, you know, never buy a home and it's a debt trap and all the rest of this stuff. This is how I break it down. I'm just talking about on a kindergarten level. You have to pay to stay somewhere if you're renting or if you are buying a home. And let's say that you're renting. And by the way, I'm not knocking renting. These are just basic facts. Okay. We talk to sellers every single week. 70 to 80% of sellers, or maybe not 80, but about 65 to 70% of sellers right now, they're not even paying their mortgages. So imagine you paying rent. You can't control if they pay the mortgage or not, right? So if you want to be in a position of control, then that's where the mortgage comes in. Now, some people will say, well, you know what? Well, you don't own the house either. I don't until I pay it off. But every month I'm getting closer. When you're paying rent, you're getting every month closer to it's going nowhere. And I'm again not knocking renting, just compared to home ownership. When you're that money is essentially going out of the window. Okay. Especially if you're in position to do so. Now, there are people watching this right now who qualify for a VA loan, in which you don't even have to have a down payment. In some cases, you may even qualify for tax exemption on property taxes, which means you don't even have to pay property taxes, right? But then they don't have the credit score. They don't have the qualifications to do that. So again, it's got to make sense to you. I'll give you a couple stories. There's a client I sold a house to back in 2018. He didn't make a ton of money at the time, so he had to go into a certain type of house. That house cost, I think, $120,000. And it's not a bad house, by the way. It wasn't a bad house, but it was easy, simple for him. That house is worth now $200,000. Guess what? How much work he's done to that property? Close your eyes. What do you see? Nothing. He did absolutely nothing to that property. Okay. And it had natural, basic equity. Okay. The problem is that when we have an apartment, try doing that. Go into an apartment in 2018 and just stick around to about 2025. If anything, your rent has increased. His mortgage did not increase. Your rent has increased. And even if it hasn't increased, right? You do know that if you move, you're going to more than likely end up paying, a higher rent. Here's the worst part. All that money that you paid went to absolutely nowhere. Versus people also have to understand when you have a mortgage, that mortgage is a minimum monthly payment, just like a credit card minimum monthly payment. So if you want to pay off your credit card faster, what do? You make more than a minimum monthly payment. If you want to pay off your house faster, you just make more than a minimum monthly payment. You'd be surprised if you just play with a mortgage calculator or a mortgage payoff calculator and you're adding $50 more per month, $100 more per month, $150 more per month to your mortgage, how fast you can not only pay that house off, but how much interest you would save. That's a real strategy. And then you can decide whatever you want to do with that property. I got another story for you. There's a girl right now who bought a property, right? And she bought it for like, I think 160 or something like that. And now that property is worth like 250. She took equity out of that property and is now using that equity as a down payment for her next property. Guess how much work she did to that property? Close your eyes. What do you see? Nothing. She did absolutely nothing to increase that equity. And I know what you're thinking. Well, it's probably in a nice neighborhood. It was in one of the worst areas of Chicago. That's the greatest thing about real estate is that unlike I'm not even gonna go there, but that's the greatest thing about real estate. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you're in a bad neighborhood. It doesn't care if you're in a good neighborhood. If you're black, white, short, tall, fat, skinny. Doesn't matter. You're going to get natural equity. Okay, and that's what's most definitely going to matter. And the question is, what can you do with that money? I talked to another seller and he had a property and he was like, man, you know what? I can take this $80,000, $90,000 worth of equity and I can buy like two properties instead of one. I said, you most definitely can. He's like 25, but he bought it when he was like 21. And when I helped him qualify then. So again, listen, there are a lot of different types of strategies out here for wealth and things of that sort. And you don't have to go with real estate, but you do have to pay to stay somewhere. And most people that don't pay to stay somewhere, you're in a relationship where they paying it, right? And if that's cool. If you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But most people watching this, you have to pay to stay somewhere. The question is, where's your money going? How long is it going to keep going there? Does it make sense for your money to go there as compared to something else? And don't get me wrong. Again, if renting works for you, do your thing. Like I'm not knocking renting, but just do understand that at the end of the day, again, this has equity and it's going to go up. Even if it's an old, beat up, rundown house that has nothing, even if you just have land, it will have equity. It's going to be worth more because all it takes is for another piece of property within a quarter mile, half a mile, or even a full mile to sell. And when that sells and it sells for a certain amount, that automatically pushes up the value of what you have. But that's how easy it is to honestly go into home ownership. It's easier to buy a home than it is to get an auto loan. How is that? When you go to the dealership, you look at the car. If the car has a certain amount of mileage, if it has a certain year, if it has a certain amount of accidents, you may not be able to get that car. You may not qualify for a car, right? You could buy a house with a recent repossession. You could buy a house with a recent eviction. You could have got evicted yesterday. You can still qualify for home ownership. Home ownership focuses on two major things. Income and credit score. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've had previous bankruptcies, that plays a role. If you're at a Chapter 7, you got to wait 2 years after discharge date to go into home ownership. Or you have to, if you have a Chapter 13, you have to wait 1 year after going, to go into home ownership. And that 1 year must have 12 consecutive on-time payments. Most of the Chapter 13 bankruptcies are on auto pay anyway. So again, those are just easier ways to kind of just make it happen with home ownership if that's your goal.
Man, that's a lot of compile, man. They gonna have to watch this one 2 to 3 times, man.
Oh man, it's a lot. We can
They
talk
gonna
about
have
this
to
stuff
watch
all
this
day,
one.
man, all day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, those were the 3 topics I had. I'm gonna leave Calvin's YouTube channel down in the description and in the comment section of this video. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Calvin Russell, A50 Club Credit. Before we get out of here, Calvin, do you have any parting words?
Again, thanks again for having me. If people want to obviously, watch more of our videos, we have over 1,800 videos on our YouTube channel. It's a 10-year-old channel, plenty of stuff that's there for you. No matter where you are in your credit journey, if you're rebuilding credit, if you're new to credit, if you're trying to figure out how to maximize a higher credit score, you're looking to lower your car payment, go into home ownership. We try to cover every aspect: business credit, credit cards. That's why we have Sledge come on. He is very well versed in this credit card game. I am not, to a certain point. And so that's where it's like, hey, I don't have to know all this stuff. That's where Sledge comes in. As long as he knows, that's all that matters to me. So, and that way, that information is there. But we do have our 850 Club community. So if you're looking to, join a community of other people that have goals and, they may not have the best credit scores and things of that sort, they're on that journey, along with you, no matter where you are. And it's not just people that's looking to rebuild their credit scores. Right now, we got a 90-day home buying challenge. Coming up soon, we're going to be having a business credit challenge, a lower your car payment challenge. So we're literally like, hey, what's your credit goal? Let's hold you accountable. Let's have Q&As every week. Let's make sure you got courses, you got videos. We're literally holding your hand until you accomplish your goal. And let's be honest, it's hard to find, stuff like that or something that can kind of hold you accountable, in a sense. So, but that's where, if you want to keep up with like what we're doing and things of that sort, most of everything's going to be on our YouTube channel. And again, Sledge, thanks for having me.
Man, like I say, make sure y'all subscribe to Calvin's channel, man. You go get more and more jewels like this.
Yeah.
But I think we didn't said enough. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
steal this from you, Calvin. I'm gonna steal this from you. Y'all want to see Calvin back on the channel? Bring him back down in the comment section, and we out.
There you go. All right.